How's it going, everybody? And welcome back to another edition of the Stupid Questions podcast. This is a different area that I'm recording in today. If you're not watching, you won't even be able to tell at all, but I am up in Lake Tahoe for a race this weekend, so I'll be recording from this humble abode. Today on the pod, we're going to be talking with Stanford. She is a British Olympian, awesome lady. She is the wife of Aaron Royle, and she is working on some pretty cool stuff on the Gold Coast in Australia, starting a triathlon center there. So some cool conversations about that, cool conversations about who she is as an individual, and much more. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Stanford. Oh yeah, it's up here, Lake Tahoe. It's just a small triathlon. It looked like a pretty hard one. It's got like almost 5,000 feet of gain and 56 miles. But I'm a little disappointed that only 35 people raced it last year, at least the half distance. So I'm hoping that more people show up this year for make it a little more competitive. But yeah, I'm up here in Tahoe. It's gorgeous. I'm usually down in Redding, California, and it's 100 plus, a lot of the summer, so very hot. So it's nice to be up here and get to chill out a little bit.
Cool off of it. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to get used to those hotter temperatures over here, so
Yeah.
I can relate.
Yeah. So where are you at right now?
I'm currently on the Gold Coast in Australia.
Okay.
Moved here at the start of May, so yeah, big life change.
Yeah. I was hearing, I guess, a little bit about it whenever I was talking with Aaron, but tell me like what drew you to the Gold Coast?
Work, to be honest with you. A
Yeah.
job opportunity came up here with Oz Triathlon, and yeah, it was a big decision because it's not a small move from the
Yeah.
UK to Australia. It's like literally the other side of the world. But yeah, it was a brilliant opportunity to sort of work with Oz Triathlon. So yeah, decided to take the leap and moved our life over to here to the sunny side.
Yeah. What's it like moving so far? Like I'm assuming you're shipping cars via boat, or what all did you do to make the logistics work?
We actually didn't end up doing that. We just took about 60, 70 kilos, maybe even more. It's probably more than that, actually. It was probably about 90 kilos of luggage with us on the flight between me and Aaron, and took as much stuff as we could. But we were really fortunate to already own property in Australia because obviously Aaron is Australian.
Hmm.
So we had a lot of furniture and stuff over here. So we sold our car back in the UK. We had a car here. So
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't as difficult as it could be for a lot of people. I think having an Australian husband and family and friends on this side of the world made it a little bit easier to do.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. So I know with moving, it can always be tough to maybe set up a semblance of community to like feel like it's home. But you already had some of that set up, at least from Aaron's side. It sounds like.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, our Australian property is down in Wollongong, which is about a 90-minute flight from here or a 10-hour drive. So not super close, but yeah, and Aaron's majority of Aaron's family are in New South Wales. So we've had to kind of set up here, but it's a lot easier when I have got a little bit of family here
Hmm.
and I know a few people that live here. So it's not been like we've had to both start completely from scratch, which has made
Yeah.
it a lot easier to do.
Yeah, for sure. So one more question on the job thing, because I'm just curious. With any new job change, there's usually a number of things that have to kind of fall into place for you to have the piece to say, like, yeah, I think this is the direction that I should go. What was the final like straw that I don't know if broke the camel's back is the best phrase to use, but what was like the final thing that made you turn over to say, like, yeah, I think this is our next move?
Um, it's hard to say that one thing, to be honest with you. You know, completely honest, it's an accumulation of factors. I think personally, I think Aaron was really keen to come back and spend some time in Australia. And obviously, it's a beautiful place to live and a lovely way of life. It's a lovely culture here, and it's certainly better weather-wise.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the middle of winter here in Australia, and I've been swimming in the ocean this morning, and the sun is
Mm,
out. Went for a nice stroll for a coffee. So yeah, it's definitely a different way of life over here. But professionally, it was um, you know, a big step forward for me professionally. I was assistant coach at the Leeds Triathlon Centre in Leeds, and I've come over here and we're setting up a performance centre from scratch. So
mm,
I've got the opportunity to sort of be the lead coach alongside Daniel Unger from Germany, who's also coming over in a few months' time. And yeah, we're going to sort of co-create this new centre here on the Gold Coast with the aim of sort of delivering athletes towards Brisbane in 2032. So
Yeah.
A lot more responsibility and a lot more opportunity to sort of have my own stamp on things and have a bit more free range to do what I wanted to do. Whereas in the UK, I think progression was a lot harder. For absolutely the right reasons. The coaches that were there were, not going anywhere and quite
Yeah.
settled and happy in their roles. And so for me to progress professionally, I think I had to move away. And really excited to work within a different federation. British Triathlon has been my life for a long time. I know everybody there and know all the athletes, and it was very comfortable. And growth often doesn't happen in your comfort zone. So stepping outside of my comfort zone, working with new people, working with a new federation, it's all a really big learning curve for me. And I'm excited to get stuck in and learn a different way of doing things in many ways.
Yeah, I can only imagine, like you said, all of those things that are going to be somewhat uncomfortable. But, with the idea of planning with a 7-year roadmap to help people progress to get to a certain level in that amount of time, I mean, for me, it's hard to plan off and beyond a few weeks. And I know for triathletes in general, that's typically a very hard thing to do. So what does it look like for you when you're trying to tackle just how to actually roadmap and create objectives that you would check off over the course of 7 years?
I mean, initially coming in, it's been about, right, how do we get the initial structure in place? How do we create a stable structure that, everyone knows when we're swimming, when we're doing our run sessions, what are the locations that we're using, what are the staff that we have around us, so that, we create that base, that stable base that we can then progress from. So the first few months of work is basically around creating something that athletes can come into and thrive. But going forward, it's each athlete is different for a start, so each plan is going to be fairly individual, and working out how we progress them in the best way. We're going to have various ages from probably around 17, currently through to about 28 years old. Well, that's discluding Aaron, to be fair, but
Yeah.
he's the old man of the squad at 35.
Yeah.
But he very much plays a sort of a very senior role in it all, and probably doesn't class himself as a true academy athlete, but an affiliate member probably. But so 17 through to 28, that kind of age range, which was pretty big age range in terms of development. So
Sure.
everything will be very personalized, but with some of them sort of really trying to make that gradual and sort of calculated progression towards 2032.
Yeah.
And hopefully beyond for most of them, because life does not end
Yeah.
does not end
Absolutely.
that year. So
Yeah, for sure. Wow. So there's so many questions that I want to start off with, but I want to ask one more just because this is such a current thing that your mind's wrapped around, and it seems appropriate to ask it now. But you're obviously very qualified to be in a position such as this with your experience at Leeds, with your own professional experience being an elite level athlete, going through these programs, making it to the Olympics in different ways. But with all of that said, what you're doing now to start something up new is very entrepreneurial, it seems. You and then the German gentleman who you're partnering with. Obviously, you're going to be doing a lot of things outside of your, maybe, what you're talking about, your realm of comfortability and just the different tasks I'm sure they're associated with just stuff outside of what it looks like to be a triathlon coach. So what do you think that you are most underqualified for?
oh, good question. If we were responsible for any commercial sort of aspects of it, then I would definitely be underqualified for that. But we're heavily supported by the federation, and we have a manager of the academy who will be responsible sort of for the funding sort of streams and managing the budget, and really allowing me to focus on coaching and making sure we're delivering the best coaching for the athletes. But it's inevitable that, as if you're heading up a center and really a big part of driving the creation of something, that you're going to be involved and want to be involved in a lot of those aspects. So I think I'll be learning a lot as we go around sort of the budgeting sides of a performance center, because inevitably there are expenses.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not indefinite pot of money, so working out how we prioritize where we spend our money and on who and on what, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be a really big learning curve for me.
Mm. From your experience at Leeds, one more question in this area. From your experience at Leeds to, like you're saying, everything that you're going to have to do now, what are some things that you have observed and experienced in your previous tenure that you will leave behind, that you want to change and have a better way about doing?
Wow, that's a really tough question, because I mean, Leeds Triathlon Centre, I think many
Kind of
people
gold standard.
would struggle to argue that it's the most successful triathlon centre that's ever been. You've had multiple gold medalists at the Olympic Games, multiple world champions. I think there's been Olympic Games where 80 to 90% of the British team have been Leeds triathletes. And I think it was maybe even at the last games where every single one of the athletes had at least been through the Leeds system at some point in their career.
Mm.
So it's really difficult to sort of discount or overlook a lot of what's gone on there. But I think what I'm trying my best to do is not recreate Leeds in Australia. I think I have to be really respectful of the fact that, yes, our cultures are very similar, but there are differences.
Mm.
For a start, their seasons are opposite. So we're currently in the middle of winter, which is the summer season and the main season in Northern Hemisphere. So actually navigating that is quite tricky. And there's certain nuances to being on the other side of the world in terms of managing academics and study and travel. So my main focus is to yes, take everything that I've learned from Leeds, but make sure I do it to fit the culture and the lifestyle over here as well.
Mm. Very well said. You're quite articulate. Would you consider yourself articulate?
I don't know. I like to talk.
Yeah.
Maybe that helps.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man. So, if I was to just Google your name, I could come up with obviously your Wikipedia page and a barrage of things going back from probably as early as 2008, bigger stuff's happening around 2012, all the way up to 2022, 2023. So I could get an idea and build a frame and a picture in my mind of like who you are. But according to you, who is Non?
Um, I guess I'm probably a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and the obvious of being a wife and a friend and a family member, to being a coach, and I think to a lot of people still probably an athlete. But since retiring for myself, it's been something that I've really had to think about more, or not that necessarily I've had to, but I have thought about a lot more and gained a lot more self-awareness of what motivates me, what makes me happy, actually, maybe my flaws and my strengths as a person. I think you have to think about that a bit more when you go into employment, and actually life isn't about you anymore. As an athlete, it is, everybody always says it, but it is quite a selfish pursuit.
Mm.
Everything that you do is about bettering you as an athlete in many ways. And now I don't have to think about myself as much in that way. It's more about everybody else that's around me, and helping other people be better. So yeah, I think I'm still on a journey of discovering who I am and who I want to be. And I think that's probably true of everybody, right? As you go through life, you evolve and change and adapt to your new roles and the new positions that you find yourself in life. But yeah, I think it's an ongoing evolution of working out who I am and where it is I want to go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always a fascinating question for me to hear the answer to, depending on what level of the cycle or what specific section of the cycle the people find themselves in. Typically, it's revolving around age and specifically around athletes. You know, you're talking about, well, when you're young, you're going for the Olympics or whatever it is, and that's kind of all your focus is. That's where the world revolves around. And then you come to retirement and you're figuring out, well, who am I exactly and how do I step outside of this? First of all, thank you so much for sharing in the way that you did. And this is an unfair question because I don't think that there's a black and white way to answer it. But if you were to compare and contrast your lead up to 2022 of being a professional athlete to where you are now, 3 years in, you're starting this new center, in terms of the fulfillment and kind of overall joy that you feel from the execution of your work, do you think that one of them is something that you would choose over the other?
That is a really hard question. I think I got all the satisfaction that I could out of being an athlete. I think by the time I got to the end of my career, I wasn't getting the same satisfaction out of it as I was when I was a young athlete. And that was a major part of my retirement. I think I'd got to a point where I just didn't want it as much as I used to. You kind of lose that burning desire to a certain extent. And some of that comes through you almost get a little bit jaded, right? You go to the same races every year and you're racing the same people and nothing really changes. So as you get older, you I guess just get used to things and it's not as exciting as it used to be. But also your body doesn't work in the same way as it used to and doesn't do exactly as you want it to do all the time. So you get I think a bit less satisfaction from it. So I think I'd got everything out of being an athlete. So I don't think I could have continued to get the same satisfaction as I used to get from it. And now that I'm in this role, and I feel like I'm getting a lot of satisfaction from helping other people. It's sort of one of my core values, I think, is sort of supporting and helping others. Actually, before I became an athlete or a professional triathlete, I really wanted to go into medicine and changed my mind last minute because somebody's like, oh, you'll really struggle to be a runner and and study medicine. And rightly or wrongly, I was like, took that advice and ended up doing sports science instead of medicine. And for a long time, or the latter part of my career, I thought I'd probably go into being a paramedic or something like that. Because I was really sort of keen to be useful in society. I always felt like as an athlete, I wasn't really contributing that positively to society. And when I retired, I wanted to go and do something like that. And inevitably, I haven't ended up going into sort of the medical side of thing or the public sector, mainly because I wasn't sure about going back to university for 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah, at the age of 34. But yeah, I now get a lot of satisfaction from seeing other ambitious younger athletes come through and trying to help them mainly develop as people. Ultimately,
Yeah.
as a coach, what you want when an athlete moves on from you is that they've grown as a person and they have more life skills to take forward into whatever area of life that they're going to go into, but also just helping other people realize their potential and realize their own dreams, because I know how powerful that is as a young athlete.
Very well said. There's one thing that you did say that really threw off like a flag in my head because I wanted to ask more questions about it because I'd love to hear why you think this. But you mentioned that you felt for a long time that being an athlete isn't as valuable to society, or you don't feel like that you're contributing something worth of value to be, I guess, notarized. Does that come from? Where does that come from? Is that a parental thing? Is that just where did you develop that mindset? If you
Um,
know.
I think it's definitely not sort of driven, I don't think, by anybody else. I think I was just acutely aware that, a lot of my existence was around looking after me and
Mm,
like I said before, making myself the best version that I could be. And that didn't necessarily help anybody else. And I know there's a lot of, people will often turn around and say, yes, but elite athletes inspire the generation the population to get fit and stay healthy and be active and encourage younger athletes into sport. And sport is a fantastic vehicle for a lot of things, and has certainly given me an amazing life and given
mm,
me a lot of opportunities along the way. But yeah, I just never felt like I was, contributing to society in, the way that sort of doctors do, for example,
Yeah.
and of course not everybody's a doctor, and there's a lot of people contributing very positively to society. But yeah, I
That's
always
yeah.
battled a little bit with the selfish nature of being an athlete.
Yeah. A couple of things. I think that I think you're right. Like being an athlete, even in an amateur level, like I've seen it destroy families and marriages, and there's definitely a right and wrong way to do it. But I do think that it is a positive in a weird sort of way that our athletic ability is only for a season. Because if I was to always have the ability to continue to progress and progress and progress, and for someone who's chasing the mountaintop of being a world champion or whatever it is, and if they were able to continue to do that, I think after a while it'd probably burn out all of the people that we hold close to us because it is a season thing. And I think that's the same with a lot of different things. Having children, raising them to the age, because nobody wants to take care of their kid through their 90s. I mean, to a certain degree. So that's an interesting way to think about it. But on the doctor front, because medicine obviously is something that you really gravitated to from a young age. Do you remember who or what happened that was starting to plant the seed for that you maybe wanted to be a doctor or a paramedic or something?
Um, I don't remember specifically where I came from. I think I was very academic at school, always very ambitious, always wanted to have the best grades, be the
Mm,
top of the class. And I guess maybe medicine was always seen as sort of like a successful academic path. And I
mm-hmm.
think that's probably kind of where it came from. I enjoyed science, I loved maths. So, and generally had like read people quite well, and I think that's one of my strengths as a person is I can relate to a lot of different people and get on with most people. So I just felt like going into the care sector was kind of a good fit for me.
Yeah. Good answer. So your name, your first and middle name, to be specific.
Yeah.
I have never heard your first name or your middle name ever in my life. So I would love to know the etymology of the name Nod, and then how do you say your middle name? Is it Riyad? Riyad?
Good shot. Good shot. It's Rhiannydd. So
Riyad.
like Rhiannon, I guess is quite a common, far more common name, but Rhiann and then ith at the end. So Welsh has its own alphabet, and a double D in Welsh makes a
Yeah.
sound. So
Yeah.
it's Rhiannydd, a bit like a TH, yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
But Non is a Welsh name. Um, it's actually the name of a saint in Wales, Saint Non, who was, I don't want to get this wrong, but I think it's like the patron saint of mothers or something like that. But she was the mother of our national saint, Saint David.
Okay.
So there's a little city in Wales called St David's, and we used to or my parents used to holiday there a lot, and all the little girls that are christened or baptized in this city of St David's are baptized Non. So that's where they got the name from. So
Okay.
yes, it's very unusual. You do have a few people in Wales called Non, but
Sure.
not hundreds of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's very unique. It's always a conversation starter. But I used to hate it growing up because I didn't like that I had such a unusual name. And when you go to France, it obviously means no, and um, it often confuses people. So even now, when I go to Starbucks or a coffee shop, my Starbucks name is Emma.
Yeah, because they're like, wait, how do you spell that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So, what was it like growing up in Wales, or in? I believe it was actually was it? I had a note and I can't find it. Swaznia,
Swansea.
Swansea. Sorry, not Swansea.
Yeah.
I'm really
So
butchering the pronunciations today.
so where the 70.3 was a couple of weeks ago, actually, the
Okay.
Ironman Pro Series. I grew up there in Swansea. Yeah, it was great. Grew up on the coast. Very, very active sort of family life. My mum was heavily involved with British gymnastics as I was growing up. So I spent most of my childhood playing in a gymnastics gym
Mm,
while my mum was coaching and the athletes were training. And my dad was very much into rugby. Both my parents did a lot of running. My brother did every sport you can imagine, and was probably a far more talented athlete than I ever was. But never really pursued anything seriously until he went to university and then started playing lacrosse,
Okay.
and played lacrosse internationally. So yeah, I grew up in a very active family, but a very close family, very close with my grandparents and my cousins, and would spend every weekend and every holiday with my mum's sister's children. And yeah, still have a great relationship with them. So it was a great place to grow up. Have really fond memories of growing up in Swansea, and was fortunate to have a very supportive family, of anything really that I wanted to do.
Yeah. Was there a chance that you were to ever become an Olympic gymnast?
Well, I would have loved to have been an Olympic gymnast. But when I was about 9, I was selected to go over with a team from Wales to America, actually, to the Buckeye Classic, I think it was
Okay.
I can't remember where it was, wherever that is in America. And I kind of realized when I was there that like actually I wasn't very good compared to a lot of the other sort of girls my age. And I came home and I was like, sat at home one evening, and then I bear in mind I was 9, and I said to my mum, like, "Oh, mum, like, do you think I'd ever be able to go to the Olympics as a gymnast?" And she kind of was like, she hates me telling this story because she thinks it makes her sound really mean, but she was like,
Real.
Probably not." And so I decided there and then that I would find a sport that I could go to the Olympics in.
Yeah.
So from a really young age, I was very sort of focused and determined, and sort of had this ambition of going to the Olympic Games.
Mm. So when you're hearing that at 9 years old, did that crush your spirits, or was it like relatively easy for you to switch from that to, well, I'll find a sport that I can do this well in?
No, from memory, I was pretty much like, oh, right, okay, then well, fair enough. Let's find something that that I could be good at. And
Mm.
for some reason, I asked to start swimming. So got my mum to take me down to the local swimming club, Swim Swansea, and yeah, started swimming. I wasn't a particularly good swimmer. I can remember like at swim lessons when I was a kid, like I definitely wasn't the strongest swimmer in the class, but
Yeah.
yeah, sort of persevered and improved a lot in the pool over the next few years. So yeah, I think I was pretty my memory of me being a child and a teenager doing sport, I was so incredibly intense about being the best.
Mm.
And now if I look back and saw a young girl as intense as I was, I'd probably be a bit like a bit worried that they were, too intense and probably going to burn out. But yeah, I just had this burning desire to be the best at whatever I did, and yeah, would just go in full gas on everything, train super hard, be super sort of competitive and intense at races. And yeah, it's just who I was, I think.
Yeah. Did you ever reach a place from the younger years where you did start to burn out and needed to take a break, or did that never happen until the end of your career?
Um, I'd say it did happen when I was probably 17, 18, and I used to be tiny, like a tiny, short, skinny. And then around 16, 17, I just started to grow. And I think I grew about 5 inches in 1 year. And as you do as a young
Wow.
girl, you develop and everything changes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really hard period for me because my running gait changed. I started picking up lots of different injuries and niggles, and that sort of period there, yeah, I really struggled because I'd been so successful as a teenager running, and sort of was like, yeah, this is it. I found my sport, running. I'm going to go to the Olympic Games as a runner, and it's going to be great. And then all of a sudden, you're on this progression, and then all of a sudden,
It
like
just
you
drops
sort of
off.
fall off the end of the cliff.
Mm.
And it's really hard the first time that happens to you as a young athlete to understand it and to sort of see the light at the end of the tunnel. And it sort of a lot of it coincided with me going to university, and starting at the University of Birmingham. And that's actually in my second year of university where I started triathlon because I was really struggling to run and losing the enjoyment for running, and sort of needed to get myself into something different for a bit of a change.
Yeah. Do you think that you operate from more of a place of like head knowledge or heart feel?
In terms of
Just the way that
with
you make
sport, or
decisions. Like, do you, I mean, it can be anything. Like when you come to an impasse and you have, a book of knowledge on your left and like, scenarios you've run through to figure out what is the best one, but your gut, on the other hand, maybe pointing in a different direction. Which one do you typically go with?
probably more my head. I try anyway. There's always instances, obviously, where your heart leads, and you have sort of moments where you make decisions in the heat of the moment, I guess. But I always try to think things through before I make, especially a big decision. Sometimes it's probably my downfall because I probably overthink things. I'm definitely somebody that lays in bed at night
Yeah.
thinking.
M-
So
When making those big decisions, who or what do you do, or who is the person that you typically will soundboard with to kind of get the thoughts out, verbalize them, and maybe get a little bit of mentorship or seek some wisdom?
I still always call my parents when there's a problem.
That's a beautiful
So
thing. Yeah, that's awesome.
so that whenever I call, they're probably like, "Oh gosh, something's wrong."
No, I hate it. They would never say that, I'm sure. Every parent I've ever met always just looks forward to those calls, especially as we get older, because we typically tend to spend a little less time calling our parents, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You get busy, don't you? And especially now that I live on the other side of the world and time zone's different, it's often
Yeah.
hard. But yeah, I mean, I spent many an hour on the phone to my mum about, making the decision to move out to Australia. And yeah, I think they're just always your go-to, aren't they? They're always that sort of constant in your life,
Yeah.
whether you're 5 or 35. So yeah, no, I lean on them a lot. And obviously now that I've got a husband, I definitely soundboard off Aaron a lot as well now.
Yeah, yeah. What are some lessons you've learned from being married? I know that's just been a few years now, and I have to Aaron the same question. I don't know if you heard that question or not, but what are some lessons that you have learned about marriage?
I definitely listened to the podcast, but I can't remember what he said. So he mustn't
That's
have said
good.
anything too bad that I'm holding against him.
No, I think it's all good.
I think it's the classics, and everyone says it to you, and you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's patience and compromise.
Patience and compromise.
um, yeah, both me and Aaron are probably pretty stubborn. I think he definitely said that in his podcast.
Hmm.
He's more stubborn than me, I would like to say, but he probably said the same, but about me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I just think learning, when to pick your battles, and what's important and what's not important, and how to support each other, and support both of you to grow. And there's times where he has to be the priority, and his ambitions and what he's doing in his life has to be the priority, and equally there's points where it's been me as well. So yeah, it's just about learning how to work as a team, I guess. And we definitely don't get that right all the time.
Mm.
We're definitely not a marriage where we don't sort of have disagreements and talk things through, but that's fine. And we learn as we go. And
Yeah.
I think that's ultimately what hopefully will make it have longevity, because we are willing to sort of learn and grow, hopefully together, and support each
Mm.
other as we go.
Yeah. How long have you guys been married again? Is it 3 years?
3 years, but
Three.
together nearly
Yeah. Yeah.
10, I think.
Close to 10. Yeah. So you guys have been through the cycle. So I've been married for 8 years and some change. And the greatest realization that I think I figured out after 3 or 4 years was that the relationship, like you're saying, there's seasons of, well, I'll give more to you, you give more to me in this cycle, but there has to be a faith and understanding that that won't always be the case, and it will kind of ebb and flow. And sometimes it's like life's really good for usually shorter seasons, but where everything just seems to be going out and you're given equally, but it does ebb and flow. And I was told that as a younger person, but I never truly understood it until after I experienced it. And I wish that there was a way that we could give that really that feeling of experience of knowing that whenever you go through the hard time, it will come back around to a good time. Because once, for me, the darkest places I've ever gotten to, if I lose the faith to understand that it will not always last, the sun will rise again, that's when things just completely fall apart. And honestly, probably when most marriages fall apart is when one side gives up and then the other just throws their hands up and and there's obvious caveats and variables that are outside of control and in instances when marriages probably should end. But that being said, I wish that there was a way to like hand that to someone. Like, oh, don't lose this.
Yeah, it is really hard. And, there are always tough periods. And, um, I think both me and Aaron are lucky that both our parents are still married and have been married for a long time. So we both sort of have that guide and that grounding,
Yeah.
and sort of lucky that we can see that it is possible, and we both know that probably both our parents have been through tough times in their marriage as well, but they've survived, and it is hard. There are periods that are tough, but you get through it, and like you say, the reward is that you have some brilliant times together as well. So well, we'll persevere, we'll keep at it.
Yeah, for sure.
we'll,
100%.
we'll enjoy the sunshine over here together, so
Yeah. Well, 13 years, you definitely know if you love each other or not. So I have nothing but hope for you guys, especially because you connect with your parents so often. And yeah, the statistical likelihood of you guys staying together because both of your parents have been together for so long and are still together, like that's huge. But earlier you were talking about I forget what the name of the town was. Maybe it was Swansea, but the I guess religious tradition of being baptized and then you're considered a non, like the ladies. Did you grow up religious? Was that like a pretty big emphasis on your household?
I grew up with my mum, and my mum's side of the family were very Christian. I grew up going to Sunday school every Sunday, and actually went to, even though I'm not Catholic, went to a Catholic school for secondary or high school. My dad was never religious, would class himself as an atheist. So I guess I had the balance of both. And if you to ask if I was sort of religious or spiritual now, I would probably say no, but that I really believe in the morals and values and teachings of the church. And the church has provided such a wonderful community and life for my grandparents, especially as they've got older.
Mm-hmm.
And I really value that for them, and the happiness and social life that they've taken from being part of the church. But the thing that I battle with is the the amount of conflict and that is caused by religion.
Do you have some
And
examples? I'd be curious to hear.
well, globally, worldwide, a
Oh,
lot of the
okay.
conflicts that are happening right now are religion based, and
Mm.
um, that's kind of where I lose faith in religion a little bit. But absolutely believe in the teachings of, and and the morals, the good morals that we can all take from what the church actually teaches, or whatever
Mm.
religion you believe in. I think all religions, their foundation is built on good ethics and good intentions. And I think if everything could be focused on that instead of what ultimately seems to be the issues that are causing a lot of the issues in the world right now. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I believe in the good that it does, but I struggle with the sort of conflict that seems to come out of a lot of it as well.
Yeah, it is interesting. Some of the greatest, but probably equally, if not more so, some of the worst atrocities ever committed are under the guise of religion. And even if it's not even necessarily to a singular god or something. I mean, the greatest atrocities over time. Just thinking of Hitler because that's an easy one, but to a degree, he became a religious figure to the people would give such fervor and commitment to, regardless of just looking out to the future of where does this lead. So it is a super difficult thing, and that leads me to kind of this next question. I can't remember if I asked Aaron or not, but I assumed like, do you guys want to have children someday?
Yes, I think
Yeah,
so. I always thought that as soon as I retired, I'd be ready to
yeah,
have
going for
kids,
it.
but I think there was so much change in my life that I wasn't quite ready. But yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's something that we talk about, and yeah,
yeah,
if we're lucky enough, then yes.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So then let me ask you this question: knowing how you were brought up and you had the balance, your dad being atheist, your mom being more on the religious side, do you think that it is enough to have at least just one person in that household to carry that, I don't know, the tradition? I mean, I'm not saying your dad is an amoral person, but do you think that it is enough to just carry those morals forward to having children to where like they'll grow up with the same value system and desire to uphold those same like ethical standards?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think you have to go to church or wherever you worship every weekend to still be a good person and to live by good morals and ethics. And I think as long as the people that are around you as you're growing up instill those, then you have to hope that will be enough. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Good answer. I've never asked that one before, so I was curious to see what you say. It's always easier to ask the question than to answer the question, especially with these subjects. So if you had to choose like one word or phrase to describe yourself as a kid from like say ages 1 to 15 and then maybe from like your 20s to now, what would those phrases be? And like compare and contrast how you've grown.
Um, Up to the age of 15.
We can say
I
16
think,
too. I mean, I'm thinking like
yeah,
puberty, you start getting the
mid-teens.
chance. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Very driven, I think, which is unusual probably um
Such a young person.
for such a young person. Yeah, yeah. Um, and then I think it's been like a slow progression from driven and intense to hopefully more balanced. I think gaining that realization that there's more to life than being the best at something or continually progressing and developing and moving up the ladder, so to speak. And whilst I think success is still something that I value and ultimately I'm still sort of working, towards success in whatever success is. I think it's a subjective thing, isn't it? And it means a lot of different things to different people. But I still got goals that I'm working to ultimately. I'm still working hard and making progress, hopefully personally, but also professionally. Um, but I think I've just got the balance a bit more as I've got older and
Mm.
hopefully realize that you can still be a good person and not that I ever don't think I wasn't a good person, hopefully. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think just yeah, it's not winning at all costs or succeeding at all costs kind of
Yeah.
thing.
If you were to have to ask someone to write out just like a short statement or page about who you are as an individual, kind of judging who you are as a person, who would you say would give you the most accurate representation? You would be comfortable with them doing such a task?
Um, Probably Aaron. I mean, he's the one that sees the good and the bad. He sees me every day. He sees me at my lowest, sees me at my highest. Um, so it would have to be Aaron or my mum. But I think
Okay.
my mum sees me through rose-tinted glasses, so
For sure.
yeah, probably Aaron. My friends get the best of me probably.
Yeah.
They obviously my closest friends have been through some of the tough times with me as well. But yeah, there's no one, I guess, like your partner that really lives those moments with you.
Yeah. What are the things that you do when you're feeling extremely low or something like a season is coming and it's going to be a low season of life? What are some of the things you notice about yourself? Maybe that, well, and you seem pretty in tune with yourself. So this may be a bad question, but for me, oftentimes there's these like little things that'll show up in my life that it will cue like, oh, you're going through a bit of a rough time. And then once I recognize those things, there's things that I can do to try to set the groundwork for whatever it is. Like never waste a good crisis, work through this, learn the lessons, and then like try to reach that next piece of the cycle. For you, do you have those recognitions, and then what are the things that you do to kind of graduate out of that season?
I think, I mean, what I've noticed since retiring is that sport isn't just a job. For me, it's a huge part of who I am. And so always in many ways prioritizing exercise every day and just really helps me feel more like me, no matter if it's a tough time or an easy time. It gives a lot of balance to me as a person. And then I think, like we said earlier on, realizing that, yeah, okay, it's a tough period, but it will get easier. And I find it a lot easier to work through tough periods if I keep as much of the rest of my life quiet in many ways. So keep the noise out and really focus on getting through the tough sort of period in front of me. And if my life is organized, I feel like I deal with things and stress a lot better. So sport, organization, and prioritizing the task that's in front of me.
Yeah. So when you sit down and like you have some work to do on your laptop, now I assume there's a lot of emails and communication that has to go on for the work that you do. If your house has a kitchen full of dirty dishes, do you have to do the dishes before you can sit down and focus?
Yes, I like things to be clean and tidy. Definitely, yeah. I think our house rarely gets out of hand. Yeah, on a weekend I'll probably clean more than I would midweek. But yeah, no, I think our house is generally pretty. I think both me and Aaron are the same, actually. We both like clean, tidy space. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we can't really settle.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never been able to pinpoint why exactly that is. I mean, intuitively, it's like, oh, well, if it's clean, I can think better because visually it seems in place. But it's always fascinating to me, actually, to people who can function, at least seemingly well, in a complete mess, which my wife is one of those people. Like, she can sit down and get work done if the place is kind of a wreck. And I'm like sitting here, like, I can't even think straight. So it's always fascinating to hear how people react in those ways.
I mean, it's probably a really useful skill to be able to work in chaos,
Yeah.
especially depending on your line of work. But,
Yeah.
life is rarely not chaotic, is it,
Yeah.
outside of your four walls? So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably a good skill to have.
Yeah, you can give a semblance of non-chaos or organization, I guess, by getting these things visually around us. But enough with that. You were appointed a member of the Order of the British Empire, given to you for your performance, I think, in triathlon by the Prince of Wales. I didn't try to do a lot of research into this because I wanted to hear like what your experience is and how you would equate that to maybe something else that people would understand. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Well, how was that experience? What does it mean? And how would you compare that to tell someone else like, oh, this is a big deal, maybe in America or South America or wherever?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're British, to be awarded an MBE, which is just what I got, and then above MBE, you'd go OBE. And then there is another one, maybe CBE, and then and then after that you'd get knighted. So that's when you become a dame,
Okay.
or a lord, or a sir. So yeah, it's kind of that first step within that system in the UK, and it's a huge honor. I got a letter through the post, and I couldn't actually quite believe it. And I was awarded my MBE for services to triathlon. So in 2012, actually, it started that every athlete that won an Olympic gold medal would receive an MBE in the next honours list that was published. So every gold medalist since 2012 has received an MBE. But obviously, I'm not an Olympic gold medalist. So I was nominated by British Triathlon when I retired for my services to triathlon, and in many ways, of course, I would love to have been an Olympic gold medalist, but in many ways, it was a bigger honor for me personally to have received one for sort of my general services to triathlon. Obviously, I've been an athlete for a long time, but I also do a lot of work in the athlete committee space. I was on the British Olympic Athlete Commission. I'm on the World Triathlon Athlete Committee. And I actually also sit on the European Triathlon Sustainability Committee. So I'm really active in sort of areas outside of just being an athlete as well. And yeah, it was a really special thing to get. And I don't know what would be the equivalent in other parts of the
I don't
world. I
even
don't
think
know
we
if you.
have something that cool, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah. yeah, it's really cool. You get to go to, I got mine at Windsor Palace, or Windsor Castle, sorry. Some people get them at Buckingham Palace. It just depends where the ceremonies are happening that day. And to receive it from the Prince of Wales, who is obviously the future king of Britain, was really, really special. It was amazing. I got to take my parents and Aaron as well. And it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. You know, you get to go in and experience the royal household and the royal grounds. And yeah, it was really cool, really special. Something that I will always remember, and definitely like a highlight of my career as an athlete.
Yeah, for sure. What would you have to do to get the highest level? I guess it's at night. Do you feel like there's something that you could do, or do you know what you would have to do?
So I'm trying to think of athletes that have received that honor. So I mean, Dame Kelly Holmes, won double Olympic gold in Athens. I think was the first ever person, or definitely first ever female, to go the 8:15 double in Olympic history. And then a lot of it's, so obviously outstanding sporting achievements like that. I think David Beckham has just received his knighthood. So,
makes sense.
sort of really famous sports people, but then a lot of it then is sort of humanitarian and philanthropic.
Philanthropic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it. You got it out.
Yeah.
Endeavors. So, if you work for Charity Arms, or you're doing something particularly, what's the opposite of selfless, I guess, to serve the community. It'd have to be something pretty impressive. So
Yeah.
I think I'm a long way off that yet.
Yeah, hey, there's a lot to live. You got several lifetimes still ahead of you, so we'll see what happens. You mentioned a little bit ago that you obviously would have loved to have medaled, gotten a gold medal. Was it hard for you to let that dream kind of fade a bit? And by fade, I mean die. I'm trying to sweeten it up, but
Yeah, it's no longer a possibility.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't think by the end, I think by the end of my career, I'd already made peace with the fact that I wouldn't ever win an Olympic medal. I think the hardest period for me was that period post Rio, where I finished fourth by 2 seconds, which was pretty tough. And honestly, and in many ways, I'm ashamed to say it, it ruined my life for 18 months. And ashamed in that I let it take over and affect me for that long. I attached so much of my self-worth and so much of my identity to go into Rio and medaling. And maybe it was harder because, I genuinely was a medal chance at that games, and I let it slip through my fingers. And I made a series of mistakes in the build up, and I got it wrong on the day and kind of never forgave myself for that. And it took me a long time I don't want to say I'll ever make peace with it, because I definitely would never ever watch the race back. I couldn't do that.
Really?
But yeah, no way. I think just watching the race play out, knowing what's going to happen, and probably screaming at myself for making any of the mistakes that I did make would be a lot. And it was such a painful period that I just don't really feel the need to relive it, to be honest. That was the hardest period, I think, in my whole sort of Olympic journey of not winning a medal.
Is it fair to say that you haven't healed fully from that?
Probably, yeah. Yeah. I think now it's distant, so it's almost like a scar rather than a wound. But yeah, I guess I struggle to see a way that I'll ever fully get over it, because I'll never have the opportunity again. And I had that opportunity, and I unfortunately wasn't able to capitalize on it.
Do you think it's possible to have gotten the gold while still making mistakes?
I think you have to be pretty good to especially personally, I think for me to have won gold, I'd have had to be exceptional, because Gwen Jorgensen at the time she was just that little step above us. Her run was that much better. And the plan was to try and expose her vulnerabilities on the bike. But and we were going to try and do that as a team, me, Vicky, and Helen, who were the British team for Rio. But unfortunately, Helen missed the front pack, which was very uncharacteristic for her because she was an exceptional swimmer. And Vicky had been unwell the night before.
Mm.
And I jumped on the bike and just felt really flat. And we just never got that team together so that we could, the idea was to go off really hard on the bike and really expose Gwen as early as we possibly could. And we didn't manage to do that. So I think it was always going to be tricky to beat her on the run because she was such an exceptional runner. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it wasn't possible. You never know. But yeah, it would have been tough.
So if I may poke at this a little bit more, and if it gets too much, just let me know. But
It's fine.
what are some of the internal voices that were going on in, especially after that, the kind of things that you tell yourself that maybe are still running around in your mind as true today?
I think a lot of it was the fact that I felt like I'd let so many people down. I felt like I'd let so many people that believed in me and so many people that were willing me to win a medal. I'd kind of let them down. I'd let my friends and family down who've endured so many sacrifices from me, you know, missing family events and missing friends' weddings and babies being born and all that kind of stuff. I felt like I owed it to them and that finishing fourth was insignificant in so many ways. It didn't really pay back to them. Whereas if you have a medal and something physical that you can share with someone, then um, I just felt like I'd missed that. And so for me, I'd really kind of let them down. And I think another part of it was that sort of everything that I'd guess put into it. I just didn't feel like I'd put my best self on show that day, and I'd let myself down as well in many ways. And I knew that, you know, Olympic opportunities aren't guaranteed to come around every 4 years, and I wasn't guaranteed to be on the start line again in Tokyo, and certainly maybe not in the form that I had been over those last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to, you know, to put two Olympic cycles back to back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just felt like I'd really thrown an opportunity away to do something not just for me but for everybody around me as well. And I was kind of just kicking myself, I think, for a really long time.
Yeah. But hopefully not now as much.
No, not now as much. I mean, like I said, it's with any pain or trauma, the further away you get from it, the easier it is, or you sort of forget a little bit about it. So and I definitely am able to be a bit more rational about it now, and also realize the importance of it in the grand scheme of things. You know, I still have a brilliant life and I've still lived a brilliant life, and I'd had so many brilliant experiences since Rio. And I think actually how much would my life have changed if I'd got that bronze medal? I don't know, a little bit maybe, but you know, insurmountable to the fact that, you know, to the point where I beat myself up for 18 months and you know, was probably borderline depressed for 18 months.
I'm sure you were more than borderline.
Yeah, and it was a really tough period. And I regret throwing away those 18 months and not sort of maybe dealing with the emotions really in the immediate. And then being able to move on a bit quicker. I don't think I ever really faced those emotions head on. And I wish I had.
Yeah. What do you think would have had to have happened for you or anyone, any Olympian who goes through? Because this kind of a story happens, I think, quite frequently. The difference between first and second, third and fourth, you know, is just a couple of seconds, but the emotional turmoil that is hoisted upon the shoulders of those who finish behind the medalists, like, often tends to be that. So what do you think would have happened or can happen for people who go through future events like this to get them to a place to, I guess, be to the willingness to try to face those emotions head on? Do you think it's possible?
I think it is possible, yeah. And I think there's a lot There's a lot more systems and support networks in place now. I think there probably was a few back then, but I don't think it was as well documented or as well publicized. Since I've been on the British Olympic Association Athlete Commission, there's been, there is a very well publicized, they call it decompression service available to all Olympians, whereby you can speak with somebody that's been trained in delivering this decompression session, and I think, and then also additional psychological or support or emotional support for athletes, because even those that win medals often find that they struggle a lot.
Like, oh, I got it. Now what? Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a big build up to something. It's not just like the build up to Christmas, which happens every year. It's a huge thing in someone's life. It's not just a 4-year cycle. It's much more than that. And
it's a life.
It finally, yeah, it is. It's a lifelong thing, and it happens, and then life goes on, and you're expected just to go along with it as well. And there's a lot more support systems in place now, and I would just encourage anybody, whether good day or bad day, reach out and sign yourself up, and whether you feel like you're fine or whether you're clearly not, I would encourage them to get involved and do it, because those emotions can cycle around a bit later, and take a lot longer to recover from. So talk to people, and access the services that your NOC is providing.
So we've talked a little bit around this topic of success, and it's a subjective thing and it's different for everybody. But for you, how has your definition of success changed over the years?
I think it's gone from being a maybe more like a tangible thing, so like an end goal or an end result, to being more holistic. It's more about, at the end of 2025, can I look back and say that I've had fun, I'm in a happy, loving relationship, I have a good relationship with my family, I've got great friends around me who I love, and they equally love me back. And have I made progress in my career? Have I had a positive impact on the athletes around me, and done positive things within my career, and made the progress or some of the progress that I want to make? I think that's definitely how I would view success more now, rather than, do I have a gold medal around my neck, or have I run a certain time?
Yeah. Very well said again. Thank you so much for explaining that. And thank you so much for just being so open to answer my questions about all of these different topics. It's been an honor to get to know you a bit. You're very easy to talk to. I'm not afraid to ask really any question. You took it all with grace. So I really appreciate you for being vulnerable and opening up. And yeah, I feel like I could talk to you for many more hours, but I know you've got stuff to do. So maybe I have to have you on again in the future. But thank you so much for coming on and making it happen.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's a real honor. Looking back at some of the people that you had on, I really, really enjoyed your chats with, obviously, Aaron. I've got to say that.
Of course.
With with Tim Don and Michael Dulce. I found Michael particularly interesting. I know Michael through Super Tribe, but he obviously comes at it from the commercial entrepreneur side rather than the athlete side. So it was really fascinating. And so thank you for putting out a great podcast and for having me on. I was really excited when you contacted me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the pleasure's all mine. Well, thank you so much, and we'll have to have you on again in the future if you're open to it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Nam for coming on the podcast today and sharing in the way that she did. She's a great gal, obviously doing a lot, and is still quite busy in the triathlon world. So make sure to go follow her on Instagram to check out all the stuff that she has going on in her world. If you guys made it to this point in the podcast, just want to say thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here. Check out the links in the show notes for all the things. If you want some SQ stocks, check those out to help support the pod. And if you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, reviewing, liking, commenting, all of those things continue to help to grow the pod. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for doing those things, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.